Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Coffee with a Cane, brought to you by the University of Miami Alumni Association. I am your host, Ann Keel Dux. I'm an Emmy Award-winning journalist turned communications coach and consultant, and I've gone back to school. I'll graduate with a global executive MBA from the University of Miami in December, so nearly an alumna. But it's about me. Joining us is who I can best describe as a powerhouse who understands the true value of our natural environment. Maria Nardi, director of the Miami-Dade County Parks, Recreation, and Open Spaces Department, and an alumna from the School of Architecture. Maria, welcome.
Thank you, Anne. It's great to be here.
Great. No, definitely. Thursday night. So before we dig in, I want to give a quick shout out to all of the alumni joining us this evening. Thank you. I'm excited. I think this will be a fantastic conversation. And of course, to show a little love for our university, I would love to see the U emoji in the comments section. Please comment below. I'll even take a capital U, whatever makes you smile. I think we all feel a strong sense of pride, so let's enjoy that collectively. And remember, this is a conversation. So Maria and I want to hear from you as well. I have a couple of questions for her. Please post any questions you have or impressions, and we want to be fun, interactive, and of course, educational. So cheers, everyone. Your cup ready. I do realize this is coffee with a cane, but many of you may be sipping water or tea like me, or even a glass of wine by now. Ninja are likely in different zones as well, so I want to ask what's inside your cup. So again, I'm talking about plans for summer. It's a beautiful time of year. We all get excited about that, but we are obviously in the midst of a global pandemic, and some of us need to think about hurricane season preparations. It leaves us with many unanswered questions about how to make smart, healthful decisions and also embrace the possibilities. And who else, I think, can offer us expert advice on the topics that matter most in this area than Maria Nardi. And let's get to know her a bit more together before we really put her in the hot seat. I'm kidding, of course. Maria, let's go back a bit. We want to know, what made you study architecture? I'd also love to know more about your journey. How has your education and continued connection to the university empowered you throughout your career?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Anne. So first, thank you to for having me. This is very exciting and it's a pleasure to be here. And my journey to architecture really began out of a love for science, the environment, the outdoors, arts. My parents are big nature lovers. They've always been ones that loved hiking and that also appreciated the environment and arts, all of those things that they instilled in me. I was very, passionate about that. And actually, originally, I was very interested in medicine. Actually, that was something that I really wanted to go into. But you know what? I soon realized the impact of architecture can have on our health. And that was something that was very important to me. I really wanted to figure a way that I could have an impact to the community, to the health of the community in one shape or another. And through architecture, it impacts the way we live, our moods, our behavior. We spend most of our times in buildings. So through architecture, you can really influence the way people live their lives for the better. And then, in terms of carrying that with me throughout my career, it really began at and the School of Architecture. An integral part of my education as an architect was about building community. And that was a really important lesson learned in the School of Architecture, but because there was a strong ethic about not just building the architect that builds, the star building or monument to oneself, but it was really about a connection to giving back to the community, a level of social consciousness that talked about how do I make people's lives better through architecture. And I had the really good fortune of having um, Professor Joanna Lombard, who still teaches at the University of Miami School of Architecture, who really became my mentor and introduced me to the relationship of architecture and landscape architecture. And back then as well, Elizabeth Plater-Zyberk, who also teaches there, one of the co-founders of New Urbanism, really set the tone for building communities in a way that is pedestrian friendly and impacts people's health in a positive way. So throughout my career, I've implemented all of those things. And, when I graduated from graduate school, I went to graduate school and studied landscape architecture, got my master's in landscape architecture. I came back, and the only thing I wanted to do really was work in the public sector. I was very determined to do that. And I worked in the city of Miami as their chief of urban design, where I initiated Miami 21, developed the master plan, and changed, hired with a team of people. We worked on the rezoning of Miami 21. Soon as I got that started, I was enticed to come and work for the county and do something similar for them, because the master plan for Miami-Dade County hadn't really happened for many years. So it was an easy transition and move, because in the city of Miami, myself and a team of people, we were working on transforming the city into a more walkable, pedestrian-friendly community through architecture and zoning. And in Miami-Dade County, I had the opportunity then to apply that other element that I, learned in school, which was about landscape architecture and urban design, and transforming the entire Miami-Dade County region through parks and a park system and landscape architecture. So it's always been an integral part of what I do.
I love that. And I love how you're talking about using your craft for good as well. We certainly appreciate your commitment to our community. And I know you've been at it for a little while now. When you just talk about the experiences you've had so far, and we also talk about the idea that here you attend the U, you have these lifelong relationships. And I think that's really special as well and unique. And I know some of our participants haven't stayed in Miami or weren't originally from Miami as well, and they still want to be involved and reconnect as well. I'd love to know what you think about how they can stay connected to the U or stay connected to the community here in Miami. What would be your best advice?
Well, I think engaging through alumni activities, I think, is critical. I think, always reconnecting with your friends that you knew in school, I think, is another way. I mean, for me, I live really close to the university. I often visit the university, and I always look for opportunities to work with them. And I can, I'll share with you some of the projects that we work with the university. I've also, like you said, kept in touch with my mentors, Joanna Lombard, Elizabeth Plater-Zyberk, are two, major influences in my education, and we remain good friends. So I think there's multiple ways of staying in touch with the university, and I really hope that everyone takes advantage of them. If you live far away, I think it's looking for, a way to reconnect with existing projects that are happening in the university, because I think there's a lot of projects that are always looking to build community. The one that I'll share with you in a little while is, with a group of students from the School of Architecture, from the Design Build Studio, and getting engaged in those through even promoting them and getting the word out of the great work that's being done in the university, I think, is a way to always stay engaged.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I definitely agree. And we're seeing so many more opportunities on virtual as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of us are still home. I know people are all over the world right now. but many are still at home. So it's really a great time, I think, to reach out and say, you know what, let me check in with this person, see how they're doing,
Right.
and try to reconnect with some of those fantastic relationships. I love that. And you mentioned the master plan a few minutes ago as well. It's certainly transformative when we talk about what it's doing for Miami County socioeconomically and environmentally as well. You've been recognized by the White House and the National Recreation and Park Association as a national model for transforming communities. It's certainly an achievement. You don't hear it often. I'd love to learn about the master plan. And it's a little difficult for some people to technically understand it. The whole thing. I'd love to hear perhaps a highlight that you replicated elsewhere.
Yeah, so, to put it in a nutshell, I always share this with everyone is, um, the master plan was the mission and vision of it is to get the minute you step outside your doorstep, you're going to be in a great park system. So what that means is that it's connecting people from their front door, their front yard, to an integrated system of beautiful streets designed as linear parks, connecting to neighborhood parks, connecting to state parks, and connecting to national parks. And the idea is, and actually this is really born out of multiple meetings with the community, because I think one of the important things with developing a plan that is meaningful to the community and is able to be implemented is that it reflects the needs and desires of the community. So one of the things that we did is we met with many people throughout the community. We had hundreds of meetings. We had thousands of people provide us input. This is a very large county. When you think about Miami-Dade County, it's really about the size of the state of Rhode Island. So what we did is we met with everyone, and as part of that, we assembled an extraordinary team, and we considered the question that we asked ourselves back 10 years ago last year, actually, that we celebrated the 10th anniversary of Miami-Dade Parks. So it was 10 years ago where we met with the community and we asked them, how can we build a more sustainable Miami-Dade County? It was less about how do we build a parks master plan, because that's all something that was already happening and does happen every year. And what we received and through our research is we learned from models throughout the country that great cities, every great city has a great park system, and that there's actually, believe it or not, a recipe, a great attributes of what make up great cities and their park systems. And it has to do with great parks and public spaces and natural and cultural areas. These three hubs that are connected with greenways and blueways, which are water trails and kayaking trails, also connected with streets that are designed as linear parks. So if you take that entire, those layers that make up great park systems, and you think about the great cities that you remember and that you want to visit, they become an integral part of those communities. And we wanted to recreate that here. It becomes a challenge, of course, because many of the systems, the cities and the park systems we learned from, they were already cities that were developed. Boston and its Emerald Necklace, that was built many, many years ago. But what's amazing about it, and that's just one example, is that they are really long lasting and they influence and shaped that community. And so when you visit places like, Chicago, places like Boston, you encounter parks everywhere you go. And all of those principles, we incorporated them into the vision for Miami-Dade County. And what we had is a plan that everyone bought into. And that was pretty amazing. That was a big aha moment for us in the community, because when we started the journey, it was about developing a master plan for the community. And what we ended up with is a shared values plan that informs everything that we do now. So we are building amazing parks with our goal of making our community have a park within 10-minute walking distance from where you live. We are connecting parks and public spaces in natural and cultural areas because we want to make sure that we build a system not just for people, but also for wildlife and provide that green lifeline. And then we're connecting everything through greenways, green corridors, blue corridors, and transforming our streets so they just don't, are just not for cars, but are also for people and for cyclists. So while this was done 10 years ago, much progress has been done. We've built 160 miles of our trails out of 500 miles, which is our goal. And as part of this too, we are learning that it's an integral part of resiliency. And it really, what we called back then a sustainability plan is now a resiliency plan. And it has those elements that are built in that now facing climate change and all of the, the impacts of climate change, now more than ever, we see a lot of cities relying on their park systems as their lifelines. And with the pandemic today, it couldn't ring more true, the saying that parks are the lungs of the community. They really are. The greenery, the trees, the green space, they are the places where, that provide for the health of the community overall.
And you mentioned the pandemic. Are there any plans that have to change or pivot some when we talk about our current pandemic, or even the thought that, wait, this could happen again, hopefully not, but what do we do next?
Right, and that is a tough question. I mean, I can talk about it from the perspective of our parks and what we've done. And it's really, I think throughout the country, you see that parks have become just a critical infrastructure for not just this pandemic, but in general for disaster mitigation, right? We have that infrastructure. We have parks throughout the community, and people rely on parks as a place of relief, of stress. The pandemic, I think, brought that to light more than ever. It really placed a premium on access to nature and activity, of course, while maintaining social distancing and all of that. And I think until the pandemic subsides, all of that will need to be in place, or I should say until we find a vaccine, right, for COVID-19, those things will always be in place. But what really rings true for me is something that, of course, for park professionals, we've always known. And I think what was really gratifying is to really see how the community reacted in terms of their acknowledgement, or I should say, just reminder of the value of parks to the, the impact of parks to their daily lives and how much we need them. I think after a while of being cooped up at home and, just getting cabin fever and wanting to go out, the first thing that people were thinking about is just get me to the outdoors, get me to a park. And when we were able to open parks up again, I can't tell you how grateful people were of, just saying, thank you so much. I never really realized how much parks mean to me until I didn't have them. And I think that's something that I hope we never forget, because like I said, now more than ever, we know that parks are essential.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And I agree. In my neighborhood alone, I've seen a lot more people jogging than I used
Yep.
to.
Yeah,
So I think a lot of us are starting to see that. And it's nice. I have a 1-year-old son. So just to kind of be outside together and start that early is so important for so many families. And I know a lot of us have been behind our desks for quite some time. So it's some relief for sure. And we were talking about this all, social distancing, stay-at-home orders. It's been a lot. But interestingly enough, and we've seen this reported on television, there have been some unexpected environmental benefits.
Right.
We've heard reports about, cleaner air, lower carbon emissions, respite for wildlife. And the big question now is, can we capitalize on this positive movement? And when we think about the actual parks for park goers, future park goers, current ones as well, is there anything they can do that you would recommend for the parks here in Miami-Dade County or elsewhere that would make them a part of this important conversation and positive movement?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think always, now we're reminded of that, but I think, I would hope that always everyone thinks of the environment in mind with every action they take. And right now we're seeing the impact of driving less, relying more on public transportation, walking, cycling. And I think we're seeing something that may be more long lasting, which is working from home, right? And being able to commute less in cars and just, be able to change many of our business models in terms of the workplace. I think that has had, of course, will continue to have a huge impact on the environment. And I think when people go to parks, think about the lessons learned from park that you can take back home, from, planting trees in your backyard to, recycling, of course, that we know, or really being able to, use rain barrels for watering your garden, all of those things that we hear and we know about, but we often, forget because it may be, sometimes, not as practical maybe in some cases, but I think it's important to remember that always so that we can continue building on those practices, because we now have seen the impact of what it means when the environment takes a break, right, from us using it and from driving everywhere. I see, the impact. So I hope we can continue to maintain that to a certain extent. And I think the other thing too is, now that we've seen those efforts, that we can support the parks in general and building more parks throughout the communities, so we have a greater capacity for breathing, right? So that we increase the lungs of the community for greater community health overall.
Mm-hmm. And one of our participants asked about the Connect to Protect network. Is there anything else you could add in that respect? They were interested, or if you can point them in the right direction.
So the Connect to Protect network is actually, it is tied into our greenways and corridors. And we actually partnered with a couple of agencies to reconstruct or rebuild, replant habitats, pine rock habitat and so forth, on our corridors. And what we want to do is to continue to build out a contiguous, connected system of greenways, so that we can, like I said, provide that biotic corridor. If they email me, I can provide them more information and connect them with our eco unit and and also with Fairchild, that will be able to provide them also with other opportunities for volunteering and working with us. Mainly, our volunteer program is amazing, so I'd love for them to put in contact with them.
Great, thank you so much. And we've read about it. I don't know if anyone else has seen this article, but there are a few articles right now that talk about a working paper and database that was put together by researchers at Harvard, MIT, and some other institutions as well, that found that the summer heat, humidity, and sunshine could slow the spread of the coronavirus, but certainly not contain it. And in some areas, we are seeing an increase in COVID cases again. What does this mean for us? We all want to explore and enjoy our outdoor environment. And Maria, I wonder, what should park goers consider? What should they be thinking about to stay safe, but also enjoy and start to make some summer plans?
I think the minute everyone walks out the door, they should have masks in hand. And when they go to a park and they're ready to enjoy the outdoors, I think they should always have that handy with them. If they're going to a space that is open and large, they probably won't be needing their masks to put them on. But I think when they encounter other people or when they're in groups of people, they should keep their masks on all the time. So, with that in hand, I think one of the things that right now, we've learned is that social distancing and wearing masks are probably two of the best and of course, and staying home. But if you're going to go to the outdoors, it's the best place to be, right? Because you can be alone and together at the same time. There's enough space so that you can be with your immediate family. And if you're encounter others who are not from your immediate household, you can certainly practice safe social distancing in the park. So I would say those things. Make sure you always wear a mask when you walk out your door and when you're around groups of people that are not within your household, and wear your mask all the time when you're in areas where you can't maintain social distancing. So those two things.
Do you expect any changes with the parks locally in Miami-Dade County in terms of staying open and any new rules or anything people should know, or at least resources they could turn to?
Absolutely. We have Miami-Dade County COVID site, which in there you have a listing of all of the different emergency orders that the mayor has put together. So right now we have our parks are open for leisure activities. Just this past week, we opened up beaches, and we also opened up our summer camps. Our golf courses and marinas are also open. And right now, in terms of youth sports, we're emphasizing that people really need to, at this point, do only individual skills and drills. No contact sports yet, or no full training or competition yet. So I think probably in the weeks to come, when things are stable and the mayor is advised by health experts, we may see moving into full training and competition for sports. But until then, we're really encouraging everyone to come out to parks and enjoy leisure activities, household family picnics on the lawn, and just a walk along a trail. If you're jogging in groups with people that are not from your same household, we're also asking everyone to maintain at a minimum 10 feet apart from each other. So lots of great things to do in the outdoors, definitely always, and especially these times, we're just asking everyone, be mindful and take care of yourself and take care of others around you.
Definitely. And the weekend's almost here, so that's fantastic as well. We can start to think about what our plans will be.
Exactly.
Maria, thank you so much for chatting with us. I feel like I could ask you questions all night long, but I know everyone has to go back to their lives as well. And this will be recorded for future viewing if anyone wants to catch up with what we were talking about. Thank you so much. I know you are a busy woman managing the third largest park system in the country. So congratulations to you and your team on all your success. And thank you to our participants as well. It's been a really great night and a great conversation. I hope that you all will continue to meet with us. But I don't want to say goodbye just yet. Stay right there. You guys can hang on just a few more minutes. We want to invite our University of Miami community to share how you are staying connected while social distancing on social media. Just use the hashtag Canes Social Distancing. It's Canes Social Distancing. We could all use a few tips. I know I could, so feel free to share what you are up to. I'm a new mom, so if there's any additional tips with kids, help me. And also remember to tune in next time at our new time, 5 p.m. on July 1st for the next episode of Coffee with a Cane. And I think we need to do one more cheers. Everyone, cheers, cheers. Thank you so much for joining us. Go Canes. Have a fantastic night.